quick overview of the company. So we're listed on both NASDAQ, Immuron, and ASX IMC. You can see that we're a little bit unusual for a biotech company in that we have not only clinical programs, so 4 clinical programs, but also 2 commercial products, one of which Travelan is sold in 3 countries around the world, Australia, US, and Canada. We're quite advanced in our clinical program. So Travelan is in 2 clinical trials at present. We just read out top-line results on a phase 2 controlled human infection model study in ETEC, that's enterotoxigenic E. coli. And we're planning to get our clinical study report completed June, July, which will be submitted to the FDA. And following that, we'll have a FDA phase 2 meeting with the view to moving into phase 3 next calendar year. The other studies are a little bit different in that the Uniformed Services University is running this. So they're the sponsor and they're funding it. It's a phase 3-like trial, called a phase 4 trial because they're using our current over-the-counter product. And they're comparing this in a placebo-controlled trial in US and UK military personnel travelling to high-risk regions. And just updating the numbers here, last time I updated this, it was 50% of target. We're now up to 64% of the target 866 military personnel. The other program is Camp ETEC, and this is Campylobacter and enterotoxigenic E. coli. A similar trial to the Travelan trial. It's a phase 2 controlled human infection model study, studying healthy volunteers that have been volunteered to be infected by Campylobacter to see whether our Camp ETEC product can prevent that from infecting them. That's due to read out in June, July top-line results, so upcoming milestone there. The product Travelan that we're currently selling on the market, and I'll show you a slide in a minute, is growing very strongly. We came out of almost 0 sales during COVID, which is not unusual for a travel medicine. And we're up more than 100% last financial year. And in the current financial year, we're up another 154% again. You'll see the graph in a minute. It's quite impressive. We're evaluating options to enter into new markets, international markets. Likely the UK market will be first, and also to add other products into our portfolio. I won't go through the financials or the shareholders. You can read those at your leisure. So next slide, please. There's a little bit of detail down the bottom here, which I won't go into, but these are the types of bacteria that cause travelers' diarrhea. And you can see the ETEC, so enterotoxigenic E. coli, is the largest, and a number of others there, so Campylobacter and Shigella and Salmonella. Travelan has activity against, and that's why the US Department of Defense is so interested in our product. They also spent a lot of money with us through Department of Defense grants doing preclinical research showing the cross-reactivity of Travelan against a broad number of different bacterial species which cause problems for people travelling to high-risk regions. This is a big market, so it's $1 billion market and it's growing quite strongly. And on the back of increased international travel, people that travel to these regions can expect somewhere between 30 to 70% of the time to get travelers' diarrhea. It's not something that any of us want. So high unmet need for a product which there are no currently reliable vaccines or preventative medicines approved by the FDA for travelers' diarrhea. Next slide, please. Just touch quickly on our technology platform. So this platform can work for any targeted pathogen, and that could be a bacteria or a virus. The first step is that we develop a specific vaccine for that pathogen, and then we inject the cow with that medicine. So we're not injecting humans, we're injecting the cow. And in response to that vaccine injection, the cow produces polyclonal antibodies. That's the word that struggled to pronounce before. And those antibodies are expressed in colostrum. That's the first milk that the cow provides to the calf. And you're probably familiar with the colostrum. It's taken as a health food supplement. And in of itself, it's very good because it's that first milk. But in addition to all those benefits, you also get the polyclonal antibodies for the targeted pathogen. And that neutralizes the toxin and clears it from the gut, stopping you from getting that infection. On the right, not approved by the FDA, but are approved in Australia, are the claims that we have for prevention and relief of travellers' diarrhea. So next slide, please. These are our latest sales results, and you can see in FY21, middle of COVID, almost zero sales, and a very strong uptick on sales going through to the current financial year. We're already at record sales for the history of the company. We've been selling this product in Australia since 2004, and there's another quarter to run. So hopefully it will extend beyond the reach of this particular chart. So next slide, please. I won't go through all of these milestones either, but you can see in there, there's some dates coming up for each of them. So Travelan, we have the clinical study report in June, July of this year. We have the Clostridioides difficile markers. This is a problem bacteria that causes problems for people in hospital, especially those that are immunocompromised. We are planning a pre-IND submission before the end of this financial year. The Uniformed Services University, completing enrolment close to the end of this financial year, and by the end of this calendar year, we're looking at releasing top-line results. And on the Camp ETech program that I mentioned before, we're also looking at anticipated top-line results in June, July. Next program, please. Next slide, please. This is just another way of showing it. I like presenting this slide because it shows all of the things that we promised to the market and all of the things that we delivered. So anything in blue is something that we promised and we have delivered. And a number of those have happened in this financial year. And we have some upcoming milestones, those that I mentioned before, on the C. diff program, IMM 529, the Travelan Uniformed Services University study, the Travelan phase 3 and the Camp ETech phase 3, rich milestones to drive value moving forward. Next slide, please. I joined Immuron about 18 months or so ago, and when I came in, due to that delay in clinical programs during COVID, I had a US market research and evaluation firm do an assessment of our two key pipeline products, so IMM 124E, Travelan, and IMM 529, that's the C. diff program. Wanted to make sure that the current standard of care and other products that are competing with us didn't mean that we shouldn't be advancing these any longer. And I was very pleased that they came back, and in both cases, so US market only assessment of around US $100 million revenue potential for both products, which underwrites the importance of moving these programs forward. Next slide, please. A question that I'm getting ahead likely to be asked about, what's next for Travelan? So IMM 124E, we've just completed phase 2 and released those results and got a positive reaction from the share market. We're now moving into a phase 3 strategy. So when we submit the clinical study report in June, July, we'll have a meeting with the FDA. That's the end of phase 2 meeting. We will then talk to them about what trial design do we need for phase 3. It's likely to be 2 phase 3 trials of roughly 600 patients each of which will roughly take about 2 years. And the cost of those will be roughly $5 million each, and take that 2 years' time. Probably do them in parallel. So we're talking from start to finish, we're looking about 2 years. So earliest registration, I guess, for this product is probably around 2027 financial year. Next slide, please. I'm quite excited about this one. So IMM 529, it's not as advanced as the other program. So this is the one that we're preparing to submit the pre-IND by the end of this financial year. This is a big problem in hospitals. It's a product that can overcome some issues with antibiotics. So vancomycin, metronidazole, phytomoxicin are used in treating it, but a number of people, even after being treated and being cured, get it back again. So it's one of those recurring problems, an antimicrobial resistance issue. I probably should have mentioned this before. Our product is not antibiotic, and so it does not have any of those antimicrobial resistance issues. And importantly, the reason that the Lumanity feedback came back so positive, we have a triple mechanism of action, which is would be the first, and we're very excited that an oral product can come into this space with such great potential. So next slide, please. Oh, last slide. Here we go. So now open up for Q&A, David.
Thanks, Steve. Great presentation. And as you've said, post-COVID, you've seen exceptional sales growth of the Travelan product. Do you think that can continue?
Look, I do, and I say that for a number of reasons. So, firstly, in Australia, where most of our growth has been coming, uh, for those of you that read the press, you may have seen that Bali has overtaken New Zealand as the number one destination for Australians, and this is one of those high-risk regions, and we're barely touching the surface of people that could benefit from our product. So, as I mentioned before, there are no preventative travelers diarrhea products, and ours offers an opportunity for a holiday without diarrhea. So in Australia alone, we can expect more growth. But we've also have the product on the market in US and Canada, and our sales are relatively low, and that's because we haven't invested significantly in sales and marketing efforts. We are starting to do that now. And recently in the US, so July last year, we launched on Amazon.com. Just last month, we launched on Walmart.com. And we're presently going through category reviews to try and get it into retail pharmacy in both the US and Canada. And we'll soon launch in Amazon in Canada as well. And yeah, Canada even itself is larger than Australia by population, with a similar market setting with retail pharmacy. US, a little bit different setting, but it has a much larger population. So that growth potential is very, very significant.
Well, having some friends just come back from Bali, they probably wish they had bought your product before leaving and heading there later this year. So I'll make sure I jump on and get your product as well. Now, you have a strong collaboration with the US Department of Defense. Do you think they will collaborate on Travelan Phase 3 trials?
That's a very good question. So when we released our Phase 2 results, we did indicate that we will be seeking non-dilutive funding to assist with funding the Phase 3 trial. So in the first slide, if you have a look there, as at end of December, we have about $15 million in cash, which is not too much less than our market cap. That can fund a lot of it, but obviously non-dilutive funding from grant sources like the Department of Defense is welcome, and they have funded most of our preclinical research, and we will be meeting with them. There's a military conference in May that our Chief Scientific Officer and I will be attending, and we'll have those discussions about grant funding for Phase 3 trials for Travelan.
And is there an opportunity to work or collaborate with other defence departments globally?
We already are indirectly. The Uniformed Services University study that I mentioned before, that has patients not only from active US military travelling to high-risk regions, but also UK as well. So in a sense, we're collaborating with UK military personnel as well. We haven't in Australia so much just because it's a much smaller market potential. But yes, as these trials progress and we get positive results, military around the world will be interested, and they validate, if you like, the technology, and we can use that in marketing efforts for the general consumer. The general consumer is still a much bigger market opportunity in that so many people now travel to exotic locations, many of which fall into those high-risk countries for travellers, diarrhea and other pathogens.
Now, you mentioned the UK from a defence point of view. Is it a new market for Travelan? And how far away do you think you are from being able to sell into that market?
It is a potential market, and on the back of a successful launch in the US on Amazon.com, I'm cognizant that of the Amazon markets around the world, number 2 is Germany, closely followed by the UK. The UK for us has some advantages in that it's an English-speaking country, and we're more familiar with it. So it's very likely that in financial year 25, we'll be launching Travelan in the UK market.
Another good question, I assume, from a shareholder. If Phase 3 Travelan work is successful, would the current 200 milligram multi-dose product be phased out and you'd revert essentially to a 1200 milligram dose, and would you sell that sort of in a singular form?
We don't have an answer for that question yet. We're not obliged to do that. It is possible to keep both an over-the-counter product and a prescription product on the market at the same time. I would imagine that the prescription product may have tighter specifications and some differences, whether that's in the active ingredient or the finished product formulation itself. And for that reason, the two products could coexist on the market. there's big advantages in having a prescription product approved in that at the moment, especially in the US market, we can't make label claims. So the claims that I showed before that we can make in Australia, we can't make in the US, which really precludes us from all of those people that generally seek healthcare practitioner advice before traveling to overseas locations. And that's roughly half of the market that we're not addressing. So there's big upside in launching an RX, but we don't really want to lose the OTC side. So we may choose to hang on to that in one form or the other.
Thanks, Stephen. Great presentation. Clearly a significant opportunity, big growth numbers, a lot of activity happening. Shareholders love to see that. So thanks for your time. We look forward to following the company with interest.
Very good. I'm just showing the scientific references. For those that are scientifically minded, this is references to the published papers for all of the preclinical and clinical research that we've done, both on Travelan and IMM529 for Clostridioides difficile. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you, Stephen.